wanted to get on here and just kind of give you an update. It's been 8 months since I left the Mormon church, and I just kind of wanted to give you an update. I wanted to share with you what has kind of changed in my mind, not so much in my life. Not that much has changed in my life. I feel like I'm a lot happier. I feel like I'm a lot more at peace, and I feel like I'm a lot more true to myself. As I look back on my life, I remember being myself. I just remember as a kid, as an adolescent, I remember I was me. I loved to hunt, and I loved to be outdoors, and I was pretty rowdy, and I liked to play jokes and pranks, and I was a very physical person. I feel like I had a lot of friends. I usually didn't go for the cliques. I usually went for what I thought was more meaningful relationships. I usually had a handful of friends, and we were really, really, really close. Any of them would tell you how close we were. I was always just wired that way. I was just always wired. I think I was a little different. I didn't worry so much about what the crowds were doing, what the masses were doing. I didn't worry so much about how I was being perceived. I wasn't overly concerned with what people thought of me. And I think that was a great way to operate. I was just made that way. I didn't grow up going to a lot of church. My mom tried to get me to go to church all the time. So it wasn't like I was like one of those true blue Mormons that was raised, all through primary and all that. I mean, I didn't enjoy church. It was just not my thing. And I didn't like that I was made to go. And so I resisted like crazy. And so oftentimes my mom would let me out of it, and she would go, there's a little monkey in my room. She would go by herself or take the other kids. Oftentimes I would leave. I would go with my dad, and we would go to working on the cabin, or we would go to the swap meet or garage sales, because he didn't really enjoy it either back when I was a kid. And I remember my mom just fighting like crazy to get me and my dad to go to church. And my thought was, hey, if dad ain't going, I'm not going. So when I was 18 years old, a couple traumatic things happened to me. And in hindsight, that was kind of that pivotal moment when I was kind of that kid in high school that everybody was shocked. Anybody that knows me from high school, I was kind of rough. That I got in a lot of fist fights. You should know that because I did. I was very physical. I loved weightlifting. I loved sports. But something changed when I was about 18 years old. I think I was just concerned with the future. I was just concerned, I think I'm a mature person. I've always been a little bit wiser for my years, I think. And I started to be concerned about what was going to happen post high school and what I was going to do. And I had nerve damage in my neck. And so I wasn't going to be able to play college football. Like that's what I had planned on doing. So I didn't know what I was going to do. And, here was my brother who was, he was kind of that person in the family that walked on water. They'd refer to him like, they refer to my brother like he was just so perfect, and he's a great guy. He's really a great guy. And so, but he was more into the church. He actually kind of dug it. And so it created a lot of pressure on me. It created a lot of comparing from me. And also, there's things that my family would say or my dad would say that would make me feel like, that I wasn't measuring up, that, and I don't think that was their intention at all. But it's hard, when you hear how good your brother is and he went on a mission and he'll be a bishop, and it's hard. It's hard to hear that because me. I was never wired that way. In fact, my brother once told me a story, a spiritual story that he had, and I'm not going to discount that story in any way, shape, or form, but he told me a spiritual story that he had, and I couldn't connect with it. I, as badly as I wanted to, I couldn't understand why it was so meaningful to him. And so that was a really hard thing for me. And I think I felt like that even when I went on my Mormon mission when I was 19, and I was doing my darndest. I was going through the motions and trying so hard to be what I think I wasn't. And I really tried hard on that mission. I tried so hard to do what was expected of me. I was overly obedient. I was really obedient. I wouldn't say that on camera in public if that wasn't the case, because people could call me out on that if they wanted to. But even still on that mission, I when I go back and I read my letters that I sent home, I'm kind of like, who wrote that? And why was I faking it so bad? Like, it's weird. I'll read the letters I wrote home and I'll read them. They don't sound spiritual to me. And they don't sound, they don't really sound like, they sound like I'm trying to make it more than it is, or like I'm trying to fake it because it should be, this powerful thing and all these amazing things should be happening. And I read those letters, and I have read a lot of those letters. And I just wonder, like, how was I being perceived? Because as I read those letters now, I think it ain't coming out right. Like, it's so obvious that I was out of my element, and I was just trying everything I could to fit in and to look the part for the sake of, I don't know, but I've gotten to a place now where things are changing for me. I was so angry when I got out of the Mormon church. I was so angry, unbelievably angry, because I felt like, they'd taken part of my life, and I felt like, they'd taken a lot of my money, and I felt like, I just felt like it was wrong. And I don't know how to say that more respectfully than that. I felt like it was wrong to take so much of my time and my money. But that's when I first got out, and I have had a tremendous amount of anger. And I kind of operate from that place anyways. So, we're all wired a little bit differently. And for me, I can get pretty angry. Call it whatever you want. It's in me. And I was angry, and I felt like I'd been taken advantage of. There's been so many wonderful things that have come from this for me, because I've gone back to that person that I was when I was even 14 or 15 or 16 or 17, that person that everybody loved, and I was I was so happy and fulfilled, and I was me, and I wasn't pretending to be what I wasn't. I remember I had seminary. My mom wanted me to have a seminary class, and I remember I had a seminary class, and I was at seminary. Usually I ditched out and didn't come to seminary. I only went like 3 days. I just didn't want to go, but I went this one time, and there was a substitute teacher. Now, I think the other teacher that was usually there was great, but there was a substitute teacher, and he was giving a lesson, and it had something to do with the word of wisdom, and he was talking about people who drink alcohol or coffee or smoke or what have you. Now, you got to realize that me coming from a background, my parents are both first generation converts. So my grandfather always had a beer. I never saw him belligerent drunk, but he always had a beer. My grandma drank beer. I mean, not as much as my grandpa, but my aunt drinks beer, and I know that drinking beer is not a bad thing, and I know that drinking coffee is not a bad thing, and I know that it doesn't make anybody a bad person. So I knew that back then. But anyway, he goes on to say that, essentially he's teaching the lesson, and then he says, is it worth it to have a sip of alcohol? Is it worth the eternal consequences to have a drink of alcohol? And I remember when I heard that, I kind of I wasn't really listening, but then I heard that and I kind of, woke up a little bit, and I thought, whoa, wait, that doesn't sit right. I was 17 at the time. And I remember he kind of went on a little bit yeah, guys, if you're going to drink one drink of alcohol, is it worth the eternal consequences? And at that point, I just felt like that shouldn't be being taught to young people. They're all probably going to try alcohol at some point in their life. But at that point, I was just thinking of my grandpa and my grandma and my brother-in-law's parents, the best people in the world. And I just stood up and I began to get my things and I began to walk out of the room. And I remember the teacher, he yelled, young man, what do you think you're doing? Where are you going? And I says, I just don't believe that. And then he goes, and I just started to walk out, and he goes, hey, you can't just leave. And then I just left. But that was me. I mean, that's just how I was at that point in my life. There was a point in my life where I kind of felt like I had to conform. I felt like I had to change. And I really regret that. At the same time, I think it was all part of my plan. I think that I needed to experience that kind of lifestyle, and I needed to, we could talk all day about, was it good for me? Did it teach me good values? Did it teach me good disciplines? And yeah, there's a lot of good things that can come from the Mormon church. There's a lot of good things that come from any church. There's a lot of good things that can come out of the Boy Scouts of America. I mean, there's a lot of good morals, values, ethics, what have you, that can come from those environments. So I don't want to look back on it. I don't want to look back on it and think with anger anymore. And I don't want to look at Mormon people, and I don't want to look at them and think, I judged people that would leave the Mormon church. So when I got in and I was active, I judged people that would leave. And I judged other members when they weren't living up to it, because I'm a very literal person. And so if I knew members were doing certain things that they weren't supposed to be doing, I would judge those people. If I saw people leave the church, I would harshly judge those people. I would make up stories about those people. Not knowing the truth about what they were experiencing or why they left, I would fill in the blanks, or I would hear rumors and then perpetuate those rumors. And it's really wrong what I did. But I don't want to be that person who is constantly attacking Mormon people, because I know Mormon people, the majority, are good people. I know that. So I just don't want to be that person that is going to spend the rest of my life antagonizing the Mormon faith. It's not, and that's for me, not because of anybody else, but for me. Not for my wife, not for my mom and dad, not for my family. It's just that I want to find out what my talents are, and I want to find out what my purpose is, and I want to love all people. I want to step into my greatness. And if my focus and my energy is just going on that, that's hard. That's not ultimately serving me. So I want to release that. I want to explain to you why it's hard to release it, because my hope is, I leave the Mormon church. I'm the only one in my entire family that's left. Okay. I'm the only one on my family side that's left. All my brothers, my brother, my sister, my brother-in-laws, my sister-in-law, they're all active in the Mormon church, nieces and nephews. So I'm the only one, which is fine. It's okay. I've made so many friends outside of the Mormon church now, and I already had so many friends outside the Mormon church. So it's all good. But I want to explain to you, see, it was new for me. And so people panicked and they started to think, oh boy, you know, Sean's gone off the deep end. And I'm aware of even information. Oh, can you get out real quick? I'm doing a video. Love you, buddy. Just hop out. So, you know, I get out and people are like saying things about me. You know, like I know that some of my family said that I was possessed by Satan. And I know that I was being called a liar, that I was lying for whatever reason. They said I was a liar. This is my immediate family. And I know that, you know, they said that to stay away from me, that I was like a disease. And I'm aware of this. It's not like I'm assuming this. I'm aware of this. I'm aware that, you know, they and I I wouldn't have to know for certain to know that was happening, because that's what happens. I know that, you know, they said things about me like that I was never serious about the church, even though I gave 2 years of my life to the church and gave them over $500,000. But hey, I guess I wasn't that serious about it. They said that I didn't read the Book of Mormon. They said that I didn't read conference talks. Yeah, I don't need to defend myself about those things. That's not what I'm here to do. But I hope you understand that that's part of what's wrong. See, I didn't know how to handle leaving because it was new to me. And Crystal didn't know how to handle leaving, but we just wanted to be understood. And we didn't want people to judge us like we judged people who had left. And so we, in an effort to be understood, we felt like we had to explain ourselves, and we had to, you know, we had to be open and authentic and real. And so we were. And we heard a lot of people's, you know, we hurt them, I guess. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that stopped following us. There's a lot of people that, you know, reached out angry and belligerent, mad, and attacking me. But at the time, yes, I was angry. And I think that come to find out that when you realize for me, that the faith that you've been indoctrinated for, you know, over 20 years, as being literal truth, and if you find out that's not literally true for you, then it causes a lot of anger. I'm just starting to realize how good it feels to be past that anger and to forgive and to, you know, to move on. And it feels so good. I feel so at peace. But I hope you can understand why I was angry. If you were in a relationship and you found out, you know, let's say you were in a 20-year relationship and you found out that what you thought something was, what you thought that person was, or what the relationship was, wasn't what it was, maybe you could relate, because I think you'd probably be angry. And you know, it might cause some massive confusion. And you might do things that, I mean, do I have regrets? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, right now I don't, because I've just been going with what I'm feeling. But I want to get better. I want to improve. I want to overcome. I wish I could get to a place where I look at the Mormon Church as just a good organization, a good lifestyle, where people could raise a family and they could just, you know, have a community of like-minded people, and that they could just have that my respect around that. And that's where I want to get. There's only one problem for me, and I'm going to share with you what that is. The Mormon Church teaches that people like me, I'm a good person. And if there is a God, I know God loves me. And I know God loves my wife. And I know good people when I see them. And most people are good. And I don't care what faith they are. I don't care what gender they are. I don't care what sexual orientation they are. I know good people, and I know most people are good, and I know there's good in most people. Um, the sticky thing about religion, organized religion, can get a little sticky, and I want to tell you why. When they teach that me, a good person, I'm not hurting people, I'm not out there raping people or murdering people, I'm not abusing children, I'm a good person. If you looked at me from, society standards, I'm a good person, and I'm honest, and I want to serve people. I love to help people. I love people. But when they teach that, this is heavy for me because they actually do teach, and it is their doctrine, that me, because I was once a member of the Mormon Church, I am now my place in eternity. I removed my records in June, and that of my wife and children. I removed our records, so we're no longer Mormon, and I had my reasons for doing that. But they teach now that I'm worse off than a murderer, and I know a lot of Mormons don't like to hear this. They don't like it, and they'll actually refute it. They'll say that's not true. I don't believe that. But the doctrine is actually such that, and I can show you the doctrine if you don't believe me, that even the pedophiles, even the murderers, even the Hitlers of the world, even they go to a better place than me. They might still go to the celestial kingdom, but me, I'm the only one, me and all of those who were Mormon and decide not to be Mormon anymore, we're the only ones that have our very own special place. And it's the equivalent of damnation. It's the equivalent of the Mormon hell. That's right, Josh. We're called sons of perdition, having received the light and then denying it. We are cast out. We go to the Mormon equivalent of hell. Mormons don't necessarily believe in hell. They have a different name for it. It's called outer darkness. And the only place that apostates go, and I'm considered apostate, is we go to outer darkness. Now what that means is that me and Crystal and Lily and Owen and we'll probably not Brooklyn because she wasn't baptized yet, but all of us that were Mormons and we leave the Mormon church, or maybe even more so if we were endowed and then we leave the Mormon church, now we're eternally damned. And I want Mormons to know that about their doctrine. And if you don't believe it, I'll prove it to you. I'd be happy to, because I want you to know that about your doctrine, your current doctrine. People like me, and if you have family members that have left, I want to tell you they're not possessed by Satan. And they didn't leave just because they want to sin. It's not true. So I think it goes both ways. I think people like me need to step into a place where we're more kind and understanding and tolerant of the Mormon church after leaving. But I want you to know that how hard it is when they're telling my family that I'm a disease. I'm possessed by Satan. This is what they're taught. I just wanted to sin. I couldn't cut it. Crystal couldn't cut it. And so I hope that if any of you are listening to this, active Mormons, I hope you are listening to this. I would sincerely hope you are, because I want to grow, and my hope is that the Mormon church will grow. They're already making lots of changes. I know they just changed to 2-hour church. I know they just started allowing missionaries to have weekly calls with their families. I know that they just changed the Mormon temple endowment and the doctrine around that. Women no longer have to veil their faces. They no longer have to go through their husbands in order to, get to the Lord. I know the doctrine. I know all the changes they're making. got rid of home teaching and reframed that. I know all of them. I follow everything very closely. I know they changed the doctrine about so many things in the past. I know they changed the doctrine about polygamy. I know that for certain. And I can show you in section 132 that even though, polygamy, it still exists in the doctrine, and the Mormons still say that they're going to live it in the afterlife, and that it's still a part of, it still is a part of the doctrine. It's right there in your quad. It's right there in your DNC 132. Polygamy is still in effect. It's going to be practiced in the Mormon afterlife, but they changed the doctrine or the practice of it here because it wasn't socially acceptable, and they were forced to change it. I know they changed around blacks in the priesthood in 1978. I know that they made those concessions. I have a hard time believing that God just wanted black people to hold out for that long. I think it had a lot to do with the civil rights movement and statehood and tax exempt status. I know a lot. I'm not a historian, but I've read more in the last 8 months than I had in my entire life combined. I mean, I've been reading all day, every day. I know they can change the doctrine. And I know that they can change the doctrine so that it suits people like me, not for me, but for my family's sake. You all probably have family members that have left, and I want you to know that we feel demonized. We feel dehumanized. I had one of my daughter's friends come over the house and tell my 7-year-old daughter that your family is evil now because you don't go to church anymore. There's been lots of little things like that. Maybe that wouldn't happen if the church wasn't teaching from the tip top doctrinally that people like me are bad and lost and possessed. Anybody that knows me, I'm a good person. Anybody that knows my wife, she's an even way better person than me. Guys, we're not possessed by Satan. We're not hurting people. We're not doing anything wrong. We're almost essentially living the exact same life as we did before. It's just that we don't have to answer to those authorities anymore. I don't have to give them my money anymore. But I'm the same person. My family, you ought to know that about me. If anything, I'm better than I was because I'm back to Sean. I'm Sean again. I was pretending to be what I wasn't for so long, and that's why I wasn't truly fulfilled and happy. I just want to get rid of that doctrine. I want to get rid of that doctrine, and you might say it's not my place to say it, but in my experience, it's Mormons, the people, who bring about change. So, for instance, if all the women of the church were to say, we want section 132 removed, because every time I've ever talked to a Mormon woman, and I do this sometimes just to see how they respond, and every time I talk to a Mormon woman, active, matriarchs, and, very involved, and if I bring up polygamy, they get very, very nasty. Bring it up with my mom, she don't like it. Don't want to talk about it, don't want to hear about it. They don't want to talk about sharing their husband with anybody else. They don't want to talk about that it is still in practice. Even President Nelson right now, the prophet, he's married, sealed to more than one woman. Even Oaks, Dallin H. Oaks, is sealed to more than one woman. Polygamy is absolutely going to be practiced in the Mormon afterlife. Now, if you're cool with that and you just say, well, I don't understand it, but I'm sure I'll understand it in the afterlife. Okay, well then, okay, if that's your take. But things have changed. I have a book by Joseph Fielding Smith where they damned people that took any kind of preventative measures to prevent birth, to have birth control measures. any kind of contraception. He damned people for that. I have the book. It was like 1960s. He damned people if they used any form of birth control. That changed. They don't do that anymore. Everybody's on birth control. I could list off all the things that have changed over the years, and it would blow your mind. Even doctrinal things. They can change that doctrine. They don't have to damn me. And they're only damning me because I left them. It's okay if someone's of another faith. Even someone of another faith, they go to heaven. Different degrees of heaven, celestial, terrestrial, telestial. They'll go to some degree of heaven. But not me. Not me and my wife. Not our kids. We go to outer darkness. We're cast out. We go to hell. Gnawing of teeth and gnashing and all this horrible stuff. Only reserved for me. It's easy to say, well, I don't believe it, so I'm just going to ignore it. But guys, this is why my family, you got to understand, my family thinks I'm satanic. I'm serious. I have the evidence. My family thinks I am satanic. That's not fair. That's indoctrination. That's hurting families. That's tearing family relationships apart. And my family are good people, so if they'll do it, think about what lesser people will do to people that want to leave. I also hope they'll change the doctrine around anybody that's involved in the LGBTQ community. They've acknowledged now that people like that are born that way. So that's new. God just decided to tell them that somewhat recently. But before, I mean, they used to do sexual preference like therapy. They used to shock people. In the 1970s, they had programs at Brigham Young University where they actually tried to change people's sexual preference through electrocution. This is real stuff. I can show you the document. I've got it. I've got everything. But it's only recently that they've actually come forth and acknowledged we were wrong. But they don't say it that way. They don't say we were wrong. They just say, well, we've decided now that, you know, people are born this way, but it's still a sin to act on those feelings. Well, guess what? I was born the way that I was born too. And I was born to not like rigid structure and heavy authority. I don't like it. Why do you think I do network marketing for a living? I've never had a job. It's because it doesn't suit me. Well, religion didn't suit me. That kind of rigid structure and all those rules and all those things you got to check off and all, you know, it didn't suit me. Not what I was born with. Not me, Sean, my soul, not this shell, my soul. Didn't like it. That's why I said, I hope you know how hard I tried. And I tried for my family. And I wish my family would acknowledge that. I tried for you. It wasn't even for me. I didn't enjoy it. I tried for you. I was trying to please you. I was trying to make you proud. If you can't see that, you don't know me. But these people are born gay, bisexual, transgender. They're born that way. It's the way their soul is offered to this earth. The Creator, for whatever reason, put that in them. And I used to think that that was so wrong. I used to judge people so harshly. I used to think it was disgusting. I'm just being honest. I was a homophobic. Oh, I feel emotional when I say that. I was homophobic. And anybody that knew me then or has known me, you know that's the truth too. But if they're born that way, does God or the Creator, do they make mistakes? I don't think so. And you know, I used to always think about the sex of it. And I want to teach people this lesson because as someone who grew up in a very staunch, you know, my community that I was raised in was just very, very against homosexuality and very against that and only for, you know, specific things. And so that's all I knew. And I really sunk my teeth into that. But I always thought of the sex of it. And because it was so foreign to me, I found it gross. And I don't know what you call that, but it's bad because I learned a lesson. I learned that it's not about sex, guys. Relationships are not just about sex. So, like, when I meet a married couple, I don't meet them and think about sex. And if you were to put their marriage and their relationship on a great big scale here, what percentage of that relationship is about sex? Just like a little tiny sliver. If we focus on just the sex, which we shouldn't be anyway because it's none of our business, but if we're thinking about sex, I'm teaching this to you because it was so eye-opening for me, and it's what's really caused me to look at that community differently and to finally embrace them and love them and even stick up for them. Because if all you're thinking about is sex, that's something that's wrong with you. You shouldn't be thinking about that. When you see a relationship, you need to know that what does that involve? What does Crystal and my relationship involve? Like, big old pie. Here's our life. Here's our relationship. Here's all the functioning facets of that. What percentage of that is sex now? Small percentage, very small sliver. And that's nobody's business. Crystal and my, intimate life is nobody's business. And so if you remove that from your mind, Mormons, take it out of your mind. Just focus on the people. You're going to realize something amazing. These people are the best. I mean, I know a lot of them, and I've become close friends with several, and they are talented, they're kind, they're authentic, they want to serve, they love, really, really love. I mean, once you have made a friend with someone like that, it's a powerful connection because they want to give so much. And my thinking around it, and I might have heard this somewhere, was that, they have felt all their lives like they're at a deficit, that they don't fit in. And so it's not like they're trying to overcompensate. They're not just, but they've got more incentive than anybody to show, to shine and to serve and to love, and they do. So I hope you'll take something from that, because when I learned that, it changed my perception around that dramatically, completely 180, black and white. And I hope that can happen for you. And so now they say that those people are born that way. Okay. Well, I say that you embrace them. How's that? I never thought I'd be saying that. Never. If the Mormon Church made a few changes, if they stopped damning people like me, if they embraced the LGBTQ community, and just love on them, and allow them to participate and allow them to be in full fellowship, allow them to get married, whatever they need, whatever they want. And you might be saying, well, that'll never happen. You might be surprised. There's another break off of the Mormon Church. I think it's called the Church of Christ, and they're growing. Whereas the Mormon Church is like losing, I think, almost 200 people a day are resigning right now. And a lot of it's because they don't like how people like me are being treated. Listen, if someone told me, if a doctrine or any leader, they told me that my son Oliver was damned, outer darkness, son of perdition, okay, no longer going to be with his family forever, eternal family, gone. I won't even be with Crystal in the outer darkness. I'm not allowed to be with her anymore. You tell me that about my son Oliver. You tell me that about my daughter Lily. You tell me that about my son Owen or my daughter Brooklyn. Guess what? I'm out. I'm out. Now you might say I don't have conviction. You might say that I don't have a testimony. You say whatever you want to say. But nobody damns my children. I know these kids. I know how good they are. I know the way the Creator made them. and nobody's going to damn them, and I won't allow it. I won't support it. I won't stand by while it's being done. So the Church of Christ, I think it's called, or the Unitarian or something like that, they're growing. Guess why they're growing? Because they stopped saying, we're the one and only true church on the face of the earth. Do you guys realize that to say that we are the one and only true church on the face of the earth, we're the only ones with the fullness, we're the only ones with the saving ordinances and the endowments, and it's the only way that you can be with your family eternally. We're the only ones. Everybody else has little bits and pieces of truth. I know. I said it for 20 years. When you say that, you're positioning yourself up here, and everybody else is down here, even the best of people. Some of the people that are my most favorite people in the world and the best people, they're not Mormons, guys. And they're spiritual people, and they have great values, ethics, and morals. I know you know people like that. So no more of this talk. No more, I'm not better than anybody. I'm not better than anybody. And my goal is to not judge Mormon people. My goal is to just love them because they're good people who want to do good. But you can't say this. You got to realize the effect that has on everybody else. You got to realize the dynamic. You got to realize I never realized, like, when I was active, I never realized, like, when I would say other people's marriages, and I taught a lot of lessons on my mission, guys, other people's weddings are really sad. This is what we all said it. We all said this. Civil marriages are okay. They're good, but, it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. Because they're only married till death. You know the saying, right? Till death do us part. Well, the reason they say that is because they will not be together in the afterlife. When they die, it's over. But Mormon marriages are much, much better because we're eternal. We're the only ones with the sealing power, the keys. Oh, did you ever think about how that makes other people feel? I don't like that. What about funerals? Have you ever heard I went to a funeral. I went to this funeral and the people were, they weren't Mormon, and it was just so sad. It was just so empty. It just felt so shallow and empty. But Mormon funerals are different. Mormon funerals, because we have this hope. We have this surety of knowledge. We know exactly where we're going. We know how we get there. And so there's just hope. And a Mormon funeral is not even sad. Okay? I can't believe I used to say this stuff. Because it's not true. It's just not true. So we got to stop that. I'm calling on Mormons to please stop that. And you want me to stop attacking the Mormon church? Well, I'm trying my darndest not to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. It's not what I am. That's not my soul. That's not my essence. That's not what I'm all about. I got better things to do. So I think it's a give and take. You give a little, you take a little. And so I'm calling on Mormons to require that of their faith. Hey, we all complained about how long church was. 2-hour church ain't a revelation, guys. I'm sorry. I don't care if they use the word impressed or whatever, but 2-hour church ain't a revelation. 2-hour church comes because too many people, especially the millennials, don't like to sit in meetings bored out of their minds, and they can't they don't enjoy it. And so it was of necessity because the church is shrinking. I know you hate to hear that. I don't mean it in like a threatening way. It's just the reality. It's the truth. I don't want the Mormon church to go away. I just want them to change investments and stop doing this or that and start doing this or that. And then, you know what? Guess what I'm going to be? I'm going to be the biggest advocate of the Mormon church. And when people say, oh, you were Mormon, are you still Mormon? I'll say, no, but you know what? I know that there's some dark parts of the Mormon history, but they've changed it and they've corrected those things. They no longer do one-on-one interviews with bishops and young children. I had something horrible happen to me in one of those interviews. They don't do that anymore. You know, they've buttoned things up. They fix all those problems. Modern day church. Okay, but guys, make the changes. And it comes from the bottom up. I know how things work. If there's enough demand, it'll change at the top. And then we can all go on living in harmony. And I'll see Mormons and I'll be like, hey, what's up? And they won't have that awful feeling like, ooh, he's evil and I got this grieved spirit. They won't have that because they won't be elevating themselves above me, and they won't think I'm some son of perdition going to hell live with Satan. They won't judge me if they see me with a beer, if they see me with a coffee. They won't judge me because they know that, hey, you know, it's all good. The Mormon church is a lifestyle. It's an option. If they would just pose themselves as, we're an option. We teach great family values. We teach great, we teach great morals. We teach great ethics. I'm all for it, guys. If you want to teach your kids not to drink alcohol, good job. I think that's a great idea. If they decide to drink as adults, don't damn them. Don't judge them. Don't shame them. But hey, if you want to keep kids away from that stuff, good on you. If you want to keep kids away from, from sex and stuff like that, I'm all for it. I'm still doing that with my kids. Nothing changes that way. Like I still have those same morals and ethics. But there's certain things that's got to change in order for us to all come together in harmony. And for me to be able to say the Mormon church is good. The Mormon church is really good because they recognize that certain things were not working. Certain things were hurting relationships, tearing families apart, kids committing suicide. All these people committing suicide. Teenagers. Do you know why? Do you know why they're committing suicide? I know why. Utah has the highest per capita in the United States. Highest incidence of suicide is in Utah amongst 11 to 18-year-olds. Guess what? CDC has a 200-page report on their website. I read it. Guess what? They link being a member of the Mormon church as one of those indicators that will increase your chances of having a suicidal teen. Why? I'll tell you why. Some of you might not want to hear it. You might not want to hear it. It might make you uncomfortable, might make you squirm, but we're all adults here, I assume. Let's just focus on one point, okay? One point. Oh, I'm just going to say it because it's one that actually has a pretty dramatic effect on young people. Masturbation. Masturbation is a very normal thing. Masturbation is not evil. It's not. I know pornography is unhealthy. I know it's a bad practice, and that's what I believe. But masturbation at that, that age around puberty and such, it's actually very normal. If you talk to, I've even listened to one of the Mormon church's sex therapists, one of their employed therapists that thinks the Mormon church has it all wrong. Because the Mormon church teaches that kind of stuff is bad. They used to teach that if you masturbated, it would make you gay. And I have that too. Just in case you think I'm making this stuff up, I can back it all up with all the references, all the information, everything I say. Okay, that's part of the hard part about the Mormon church history is any door you open, a bomb goes off. If you want to talk about the first visions, all you got to do is go read the LDS on LDS.org, your own church website. Go read the essays. I didn't write them. The church wrote them. The church leadership at the tip top approved them. Okay. First vision, boom, bomb goes off. There was 8 different accounts of the first vision. Okay. Go read about it. Polygamy, bomb goes off. Blacks in the priesthood, bomb goes off. Guys, just go read your own essays. Just Google search LDS Gospel Essays, and it'll pull up the essays for you. It'll talk about Joseph Smith looking in a hat, and he looked in a hat at a stone, and that's how he translated the Book of Mormon. He didn't use the plates. He didn't use the spectacles, the Urim and Thummim. He used a stone and a hat. And the Mormon church has acknowledged such. And they've acknowledged that Joseph Smith was a treasure digger. And he was arrested for treasure digging. Joseph Smith's polygamy, they've acknowledged that Joseph Smith had like 30-something wives, and 14 or so of them were married to other women, other men. And it's called polyandry. It's all there. So I've got all the backing, historical backing, not anti-Mormon literature. It's on your website, lds.org. Go read it. I did. Go read it. And then you'll understand that the Mormon church has a very, very dark history, and it's been whitewashed, and it's the gaslighting, and they change things, and they don't tell anybody, and it's prolific. It's not a little bit. That's why I've always said it's thousands of layers deep. Okay, fine. You still want to believe. You still have that testimony, that witness. I'm all for it, guys. But if they changed all that, change the stuff that really matters. Change the stuff that's killing kids. Change the stuff that's killing gays. Change the stuff that's killing families like mine. Don't rip my family apart. You change so much. You change what needs to be changed, and you'll see someone like me who's been very public and very vocal, and I'm bringing a lot of people out of the church, and I'll stop. I'll stop doing it. I have skills around building community and building organizations. This is all I've done for almost 20 years, is built community and made people feel welcome and loved. I can make people that leave the Mormon church feel welcome and loved. I have that skill set. That's in my soul. God gave me that. You want me to stop? Change those things, those rotten things. Get rid of them. Get rid of that polygamy garbage. It's still there. Get rid of it. And then guess what? It's done. I'll go to the Mormon church. I'll go. I probably wouldn't get rebaptized, but I'll go. I'd let my daughter go. You change all that stuff, I'll let my daughter go. I'll let her go to girls' camp. You get rid of those critical things that are making it so divisive. So divisive. Fix it. That's all I'm asking for. If you don't, I'm going to keep helping people out. I'll keep pulling them out. The ones that want to leave. People like me, the ones that want to leave. I'm very open about my intentions. I always have been. There's people that aren't happy in it. There's moms. This is the biggest one of all. It's moms like my wife. And you know what they've done? They're super moms. And they've given and given and given. And they make all those perfect meals every night of the week. They get up early and they do that scripture study at 6 o'clock in the morning because they're told to. They do that family home evening. They got it all planned out because they're told to. They fulfill those callings. They do their ministering, I think they call it now. They do everything to the T. They go to the temple. They wear those uncomfortable clothing, because they have to wear clothing that covers the garment. They're doing everything right. And guess what? They're fried. They're toast, and they're unfulfilled, and they're unhappy. And they don't like that Section 132 still says that if they're really, really, really faithful, they get to share their husband in the afterlife. They don't like that. Ask them. They don't dig it, but it's true. Those moms, they're leaving. And a lot of them are still going, but they're mentally checked out, have been for years. Guys, fix it so they want to stay. I want them to stay. The Mormon church is good. A lot of good there. Just change those things that need to change. I can say that. Change those things so that my family actually has some respect for me and sees the good in me. I want that. Is it a deal? It's going to start from the bottom up, guys. President Nielsen's not going to be like, I woke up in the middle of the night and the Lord manifests to me and I felt impressed. No, it ain't going to happen like that, guys. All these changes start from the bottom. They go up. Why did they start allowing missionaries to call home? Because mental illness. Guys, I'm so clued in. And I'm not even very smart. You meet people that have left the church, it will blow your mind. They know everything about the history, the doctrine, the archaeology. They know everything. They put me to shame. I'm like a little toddler and they're like college professors. These people, why? Because they're so charged to help others understand. They're so charged to be understood. It consumes them. They want to understand them. And you guys won't give them a chance to talk because you're so afraid of them. And you think everything out of their mouth is just anti-Mormon. Go read the gospel essays on LDS.org and you'll understand it ain't anti-Mormon. It's not anti-Mormon. One of the reasons I left is because I learned about a high priest in my ward who left. And I said, no, he didn't. And his wife is still active. And I said, no, he didn't leave. I don't believe it. And he did. And guess why? Because he read the LDS essays where they're actually transparent about the history of the church. And guess what? The majority of Mormons have never read them. They haven't read the essays. They don't even know they exist. And they get lazy because it's kind of like, I hate to be offensive, but kind of what happens when you do the same thing over and over and over, and, they're teaching you line upon line, precept upon precept, and you got to, repetition. And pretty soon you check out because you've heard it all before. I would sit in sacrament meeting or Sunday school or elders quorum, and I would sit there and I could finish the scriptures because I have that kind of memory. I would finish the scriptures before the person could start the scripture and I would finish it in my mind way before them. Or I could see where they were going and I'd finish the sentence because that's how mundane and repetitive it is. That doesn't make it bad necessarily, but that's why people check out and then they stop studying and growing. It's almost like a coma. It's almost like zombies. But I don't mean that overly offensive. It's just that you stop learning, you stop growing, you stop reading, and you're told you can only read from certain sources, and those sources get boring. One of the greatest things for me having left is I have a new passion for learning and for life and experiencing things. It's like a light switch went on and I'm alive. Oh my gosh, there's so much cool stuff out there, and I want to travel and I want to learn about cultures and I want to learn about people. And I mean, I've changed so much in such a short period of time, but because Mormons don't read, they stop reading other than, maybe they rip through that chapter of the Book of Mormon real fast and check it off, but they stop really immersing themselves in knowledge, unfortunately. And that's why they haven't read the LDS essays. They're like, probably more of the same. Don't need to know. Go read them, guys. Go read them. You might thank me. If anything, you'll understand me more. People like me. I'm not going to say you're going to leave the church. I hope you don't. Don't leave the church. But demand change. Please, for my sake, for Crystal's sake, for my children's sake. Demand change so that these communities change for the better, and family bonds and family relationships change for the better because they've changed for the worse. That shouldn't be what the faith does. I want you to feel my sincere heart. My sincere hope is that the Mormon church sticks around. There's a lot of good there. Guys, I never thought I'd be saying this. I hope it sticks around. A lot of good there. But there's things that got to change. So change them. Just change them and just frame it like, we're a great option. We're Christian and we believe in Jesus Christ's teachings, and we're one great option to raise a family, and we teach community and we teach values, morals, ethics. And you know what? But we're not one way or the highway. We don't teach that anybody else is damned. If anything, teach that the pedophiles and the murderers or Hitler, teach that they're damned, but don't teach that anybody else is damned. And then if people want to leave, and then just wish them well and be like, hey, wasn't a fit, no problem. We're cool with that. And a lot of you Mormon people are that way. So mad props to you. But maybe you don't realize that I'm damned. Okay. So you've been cool to me, and I totally appreciate it. And so many of my Mormon friends are still like, we're so solid. All my mission companions that I was companions with, right? Tell me if it's not true. We're still rock solid. You got to know me, right? It's so cool because probably 5 or 6 of my best friends in the world they're my mission companions, and they're still in it. And some of them are in bishoprics and stuff. And I've been talking to my mission president and my other mission president that's local there. And we're still like the best of friends. And I haven't held anything back. Like I'm a pretty outspoken person, but these people know me. And they know I'm not damned. But that's what the doctrine teaches. But they know me. Why? Because we lived together. It wasn't like, they know me a little. You want to get to know somebody, live with them. It's kind of why I think it'd be better if, well, we don't need to go into that. But anyway, they know me because they live with me. And they know my heart. And they know that I actually have a good heart, and I have good intentions, and I want the best for people. I want the best for the Mormon Church. Just change those things, man. Okay? Demand change. Demand change around gays. Demand change around people who just decide it's not a good fit for them and want to leave. Guess what? You make those changes, a lot of people like me will come back. Actually, they will, because they like the community and they like all that stuff, and they like the camaraderie and the network, the social network. They like it. But me and my wife, we weren't seeing change for a long time. And yeah, you can change church times and you can change all these administrative things, but that's not changing the fundamentals that are the problem. There's fundamental problems there. Okay. And I know I probably got comments from people telling me to shut up and telling me that I'm wrong and that I don't know anything, and just leave it alone and let us be us. Guys, you're ripping my family apart. You understand? If you're going to support that doctrine, you are ripping, not of commission, but of omission. You're ripping my family apart. Would you want to do that? Do you want my family to look at me as a damn soul, to be afraid of me, to not want me to talk to their kids? Fix those things and we're all square. I don't even need to talk about this stuff anymore. I think that's so fair. I think that's so great. I'm making concessions. You should see other people there's other people like me that want to burn it. Burn it down, they say. Actually, they don't say that. They have an acronym that is burn the mother beeper down with truth. Now, before you take too much offense to that, I know where they're coming from because I had that anger. See? Just to give you one more example how they can fix things, okay? So the Pearl of Great Price, people don't know this, but the Book of Abraham, the Pearl of Great Price, Joseph Smith said that he translated that from an ancient text. If you've ever seen the pictures of the person laying on the bed, and then there's someone standing over them, and someone brought this papyri, these Egyptian scrolls, this papyri to Joseph, and Joseph paid a fortune for them. Way back then, he paid a fortune for these scrolls. And then he said he had the ability to translate them. And he said that this was Abraham standing over Isaac, I think is what he said, and he had a knife in his hand, and it was supposed to be, representation of Abraham about to sacrifice Isaac. And then all this Egyptian hieroglyphics and writings was supposed to be the Pearl of Great Price, and he translated it. Well, come to find out that it was not a direct translation. Those same scrolls are very common funeral texts, funerary texts, scripts. And so it was actually, if you go, it's a very common thing in Egypt. The scroll, the picture, is of a guy with the one of those Egyptian masks like a dog, and he's standing over this person. Now, this is directions. What he actually translate is common knowledge in Egypt. It's directions on how to handle the body and bury the person and what's to be said in the Egyptian culture. Okay, so all of these Egyptologists, when they saw Joseph's translation, they've come out and they've said, well, whoa, that's not accurate. That's not true. That couldn't be further from the truth. He's not even close to Egyptian. This guy doesn't know how to translate Egyptian. And not one Egyptologist, all of them, all of the accredited Egyptologists, they all said, that's not right. That's not accurate. Now, what the Mormon Church has done, and they even have an essay on it, okay? But what they've done is they've changed their stance on that. And now they've said, well, it wasn't a direct translation. Joseph didn't mean to say it was a direct translation. What Joseph did was Joseph says, no. This is actually, Joseph used the picture and he filled in the blanks of the picture and they were way off. They weren't accurate at all of what it was supposed to be. But they said, no, this was only a means, a trigger, a means whereby revelation was sprung forth out of Joseph. So it's almost like the papyrus that Joseph bought to translate it wasn't anything other than it caused a trigger and then out came all this revelation, although Joseph called it an exact translation. You can go read about it in the essays. So the church has changed on that. And now they've said, no, not a direct translation, even though Joseph said it was. No, not that. Only means whereby revelation came down. It was a stimulus for revelation. Okay, fine. I can live with that if that's what you want to say. I can live with that. They're going to have to do the same thing about the Book of Mormon. Just like the Book of Mormon, right there in the introduction, it used to say, writings of, and these people were the principal ancestors of the American Indians. And if you go to the Book of Mormon now, it no longer says that at the introduction. By the way, I could go on about this stuff all day. It's all I've done for 8 months is read about this stuff. And I'm not even smart, okay? I'm not even smart. The smart people blow your mind. And they're not anti-Mormon. This is all factual history, science, archaeology, so forth, okay? So now, because the Book of Mormon, because they haven't been able to document that, actually scientists, through all this incredible, stuff now they have now, carbon dating and DNA testing, they've been able to document that the American Indians originated from Asia, okay? But the Book of Mormon claims that they originated from the Middle East, but they can actually do DNA testing and they've documented where the people came from. And so the Mormon Church got rid of that part of the Book of Mormon that says the principal ancestors of the American Indians. Go to an old Book of Mormon and you'll see it'll say the principal ancestors of the American Indians. It doesn't say that anymore. They changed it. They had to. Okay? There's so many things like that. Now, all I'm saying is we all know you changed it now. You got the essays are there. We all know you changed it. We all know about the 3 and the 8 witnesses. The 3 and the 8 witnesses. I don't need to go into that. There's a whole story around that. We know you can change things. So why not? Just call it a revelation, if you will. I had a revelation, and people that leave the Mormon Church are no longer damned. Outer darkness is no longer a thing. We're not damning people. People want to leave. We're going to embrace them and wish them well, and we're going to still remain in fellowship with them as we should. And do the same thing around gays. Just change it. Change it. Call it a revelation, and let everybody call it a revelation. I don't care. Just do the right thing. I don't care what you call it, but I know you can do it. Okay, that's all. I want to tell my family, if any of you watch this, I'm not satanic. I want to tell you that I'm not possessed. I want to tell you that you'd like me more now then you might have liked me or loved me the last 20 years. I've had people come up to me all the time lately and say, gosh, Sean, something's really changed in you. You're full of light. You're full of love. I feel it. I sense it. And guys, I'm not faking it. It feels so good to be me, to be what my creator made me, my soul, my essence, whatever. It just feels so good to be my true, genuine, authentic self. I can't even begin to explain how good it feels. I feel like it's a new lease on life. Thank goodness this didn't happen when I was 60 or 70, because I have a wonderful life to live. And I feel like I'm being guided. Even this video, it's not full of, I don't feel angry right now. I got angry when I talked about those things I hope change, but I don't feel anger towards the Mormon church. I don't feel anger towards the Mormon leadership. I don't feel anger towards people that offended me in the Mormon church. I don't feel anger even towards the man that sexually abused me as a child. I don't feel, it's like, guys, I've grown so much in terms of my stuff, the stuff that was robbing me of my happiness. So for that, I'm so grateful. I had to go through all this. And I want to help you if I can. Even the active Mormons, even the ones that are involved and unhappy for whatever reason, even the ones that are active and love it and happy. I want to help you, and I want to help people like me, and I want to help people that are angry. I want to help people that say they want to burn it down, because it doesn't have to be like that. We can all be right. That's crazy. I never thought I'd say that. Like Crystal used to say that all the time. Sean, we can all be right. And I'm like, no, we can't. If I'm right, they're wrong. If they're right, I'm wrong. But we can all be right. And it's whatever makes people feel good and makes them happy. And as long as it's not hurting anybody. Guys, you're hurting people. And if you're standing by while those doctrines exist, I'm just telling you right now, you're hurting people. You wouldn't want to do that. The only reason you're allowing it to happen is because you feel like you don't have a voice. And if you share that voice, I know what you're told. I know they tell you to kind of fall in line. I know they tell you to shelf it. Oh, you've got concerns? Put those on the shelf, Have faith. Let the brethren. The church should be 50-50, by the way. That's another thing that should change. If I am going to let Lily go to girls' camp and go to church, I want 50% of the church's leadership to be women. I've always been a women's lib. It's because my industry, I see women are better at my business model than men are. And I have mad respect for women's skills, their talents, their passion, their abilities. Women are amazing. If women ran at least 50% of the church, if they ran the whole church, it'd be even better. But if they ran at least 50% of the church so that it's fair, then I'd let my daughters consider. I'd actually, let them attend and stuff and go to the events. But because it's not that way, that's not right. So I'm just calling for change. I know I brought up another thing, but it's a big thing for me, guys. That is the big one for me, because I don't need to go into it all. I want women to have equal rights, equal powers. Okay? Give them the priesthood, whatever it takes. I don't care. You give women the priesthood, Sean Escobar is not going to be saying, ha ha, that church changed again. Ha ha ha, see, it's not true. No, I won't. I'll say, awesome. Good for them. It's the right thing to do. Okay? Let's do that, okay? We can be on the same page. I love you guys. Thanks for being with me. I hope this helps. I hope it causes some conversations to come up in your families, your relationships with your spouse, and I hope it causes some change. People like me, I hope you realize how brave it is of people like me to do this. I know a lot of people that leave the Mormon church and then they just go silent. I know people that just go into hiding because the judgment and the shame and the exclusion is so heavy. They go quiet. But I don't want to do that. I want to have all these friends I have in the Mormon church. Like, guys, you love me for me, and I love you for you. Let's just change that crap that's getting, that sticky, nasty crap that's getting in the way of it all. Hallelujah. Okay, let's change it. All right. Thanks, you guys. Bye-bye.